The Border Control Management Authority has confirmed that 443 children under the age of 8 were being trafficked through the Beitbridge border post with Zimbabwe last night, and the destination was South Africa. The Commissioner said that at a briefing outlining measures to adopt Border Management Authority oversight during the festive season. We speak now to Katleho Sekhotho, who is attending that briefing for us. And you standing by to actually speak to the Commissioner. Katleho, good morning.
A very good morning, Dudu. Indeed, the Border Management Authority outlining its interventions, during this festive season, outlining some of the steps they'll be taking to make sure they manage law and order at the 72 ports of entry throughout the country. Now, the Commissioner outlining there that, post-COVID-19, there's been a full recovery, and they're expecting about 6 million people to move in and out of the borders throughout this period, as well as additional human resources being employed to make sure that, systems are efficient and that there's a seamless flow of people moving in and out, and that, there aren't these long queues at borders, and making sure that at least there's, structure in place. Also, the Commissioner outlining that 380 generators are ready to make sure that if there's any load shedding interruptions from an electricity supply perspective, that there are interventions there. But yes, what you've cited there, the most important thing coming out of this briefing, that 443 children found at the Beitbridge border with Zimbabwe and South Africa, seemingly human trafficking, the children destined for South Africa coming from Zimbabwe without the presence of their parents. But I want to speak to the Commissioner now, Dudu, just to give us more about, firstly, that issue that you've outlined at the Beitbridge border last night. Commissioner, what are you doing to mitigate this situation? Where are those children now? What are the steps being taken?
Thank you very much, Katleho. Maybe let's start by appreciating this opportunity, but also to indicate that indeed human trafficking is a very serious issue. And as the Border Management Authority, we are, in a way, putting a lot of measures in place in making sure that we intercept, any kind of trafficking that has to be taking place in any of our ports. So in this instance, what happened is we put together an operation fairly manned by the Border Management Authority, as well as the members of the Anti-Corruption Unit from the Department of Home Affairs, as well as some members of SAPS. So the intention was to be able to search through the various buses that had to enter the jurisdiction at Beitbridge. And to that extent, as we were doing that throughout the night, we were able to find those children. They were in various buses anyway. As the total number of over 400 can be cited. So in that instance, we had to then take them out of those buses, and therefore, like I said, engage with the Zimbabwean counterpart and be able to do some investigative work. So as we speak, that is fairly a latest issue. The colleagues on the ground are still working on the issues with the relevant authorities, including the Zimbabweans, because remember, Beitbridge does not only cater for Zimbabwe per se, but there will be some that will be coming from Malawi and other parts of the continent. So on that basis, we are doing work on the ground. We will be bringing in other officials or other colleagues from other countries to be able to help us to do the process. So during the course of the day, we should be able to have the ultimate latest in terms of even where the children are coming from in actual fact, and where are they supposed to then be handled further down the line.
All right. So, Commissioner, you did touch on this in terms of dealing with criminal activity at the borders. Obviously, during festive season, one might expect that people who want to take chances will do so during this time. To mitigate that, just remind us of the steps you've taken there.
Yeah, you see, criminality is one of the biggest challenges that we have to be dealing with. Facilitation, as it were, is one of those issues that are more administrative and all of that, and we don't necessarily have too much of an issue. Hence, we bring additional capacity and all. But dealing with criminality becomes difficult. But what we have done as the Border Management Authority, we do have what we call the National Targeting Center. So the National Targeting Center does have the colleagues from the intelligence community, but other colleagues from other parts of the law enforcement dispensation in the country. That include SAPS, as well as, for example, the colleagues from Home Affairs, Anti-Corruption, and all of that. So these are the colleagues that we then work with and be able to deploy our risk model around each and every port. So we know which port, most of the people in which port do what kind of criminal activities, and to that extent we then deploy appropriately. Right. The only issue that we might not want to go into detail, especially on the intelligence side, is the mechanics of our deployments. But one thing that we can confirm is that anybody who will try to take chances in this festive season and try to do any kind of criminality, definitely they will be caught, and as indicated, they will be arrested. If they are from any other country, they will have to be deported. And in many instances in this case, we actually declare them undesirable, fairly banning them from entering the Republic for the next 5 years. And then from there, we have to get them deported. Right. But obviously, if they're South Africans, we then activate SAPS, and then they get arrested, and therefore the detectives will then do further work. So what we can assure South Africans is we've put measures in place also to be able to deal with criminality. And we are very much sure that there will be a lot of people who will try to take chances, but what we can say is this time around, they will definitely be detected.
All right. And just a last one, Commissioner. You mentioned that departments, as they are, no longer exist at the borders. Just a brief roundup of how that will work in terms of operational-wise. When I enter that border, how does that work?
Yeah, so basically what we have done, we've integrated all the functions and we've integrated all the officials. Yeah. So if you were to arrive today at OR Tambo and you want to fly international, you will obviously be meeting what we call the BMA the BMA immigration team, no longer people on Home Affairs uniform. So those individuals will be on BMA uniform. They are employees of BMA, but just doing that function of immigration. That's basically what it means. And in terms of your return, as an example, you will then find the port health team of the BMA that is going to do assessment to yourself in terms of your health status and all of that. The clinic, even at OR Tambo, as an example, it is taken care of by the BMA port health officials. These are the officials that used to work for Home Affairs. Agriculture, environmental, biosecurity, all of those colleagues are integrated into the BMA.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Commissioner. We'll leave it there for now. Thank you. Dudu, you heard it from the Commissioner, just outlining some of the steps that the BMA will be taking to make sure that there's a seamless flow of people between, coming in and out of the country during this festive season at all 72 ports of entry throughout the country.
Alrighty. Thank you very much for that briefing, Katleho Sekhotho.